The Washington State Teaching Artist Training Lab, commonly known as TAT Lab, is a community of arts educators committed to transformative teaching and learning through the arts. This year, due to the pandemic, our 7-month core program, as well as a new series of community workshops and conversations, were all held remotely. TAT Lab programming explores learning frameworks, instructional strategies, social-emotional learning, and centering the cultures and ideas of youth.
So instead of being middle schoolers right now, you're you as teaching artists, and you're thinking about a transformative experience with a student. I'll know you have a story in mind, or at least a student in mind. Maybe you don't even have the beginning, middle, end yet, and that's okay. Because when we improvise, we don't necessarily have the whole story.
So I really appreciated the mentorship that I got through the TAT Lab project or process of just the ability of meeting people one-on-one, and then also the collaborations and the juiciness of really getting inside of our processes and seeing those reflected within the community too.
We are committed to thoughtful planning and reflective practice, framed by questions including, what do I want my students to know and be able to do? And why does what I teach matter? In one of our workshops this year, teaching artists reflected on how teaching remotely was going by writing a poem and making choreography together.
Creative. Unmute. Squirm.
The core program takes teaching artists and classroom teachers through a prolonged period of time when they can really sink into these ideas and really learn about them and try them out themselves. Number one, the standards you want to address. What is a big idea you want to address? And that's the beauty of TAT Lab, that it brings all of that together.
Rather than thinking, oh, I need to adjust everything I'm doing with the learning plan, it's let's just use this as a way to highlight what's already special about your work so that you can bring it to more people in a more intentional way.
TAT Lab was so responsive, and it did feel like a learning community. I loved how much engagement was required of us to be able to really build out the type of learning community we wanted.
The teaching staff went out of their way to make sure, here are the office hours. We had buddies by the second session, so we also could reach out to buddies.
TAT Lab at its core is a community of practice guided by inquiry. Faculty, alumni, and participants explore tough questions together. Questions like, what is our role in naming and challenging white supremacy and ableism in instructional design? What did we learn about access points and barriers from the digital platforms and virtual tools we used this year? Who do we position as experts in our field, and why? What learning goals truly matter to communities, students, and families? How do we rise to the demands of teaching for equity while also finding time, joy, and support for our own creative work as artists? We ask, we listen deeply, and we find shared hope in the inquiry.
In order to better honor and support diverse arts education voices and build a dynamic TAT Lab cohort that is representative of Washington's population, this year we implemented the Teaching Artists Rise Award. Nominees identify with a community that has been historically underrepresented in TAT Lab, for example, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, or multilingual or immigrant refugee communities, and people with disabilities. We are also taking steps to increase representation from all parts of the state. This map illustrates where applicants to our core cohort live.
I really appreciate this program for creating a structure and the time to allow people to think about their superpowers. Superpowers as teaching artists.
The TAT Lab faculty and administrative team collaborates to support arts education across Washington State in the traditional territories of so many Indigenous peoples. Our 3 program directors represent the Washington State Arts Commission, also known as ArtsWA, the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, and Pacific Northwest Ballet. Major funding comes from the National Endowment for the Arts and additional support from Jubilation Foundation.